Mr. Griffith, good morning, and thank you again for joining us.
Always my pleasure. Good morning to you and to your many viewers.
Yeah. All right. Well, as I said earlier, the Prime Minister would have spoken about a number of things yesterday. One of them making the news this morning, and of course yesterday, is these proposed crime talks with the opposition. The Prime Minister is now saying, and he is being seen this morning as softening his stance, and he's saying, I have not said that I will not sit with them, the opposition. I have not said that. Too many people are talking for me. So the front page of the newspaper is also saying that the Prime Minister is changing his crime tune. As you listen to the Prime Minister, what's your analysis, your feeling, your view as to what he would have said?
Yeah, sure. Good morning. Well, the first thing, I want to commend the media. It is the first time in 9 years the media across the board stood up to the Prime Minister. Usually he would bully his way in a press conference and the media would back down. They doubled down because he was moonwalking like Michael Jackson, avoiding the questions, and the media, every single one of them, stood up to him. And I really wish to applaud the media for that. It's the first time in 9 years the bully could not have bullied the media. And the comments that he made, however, and he's going to come with a statement to attack the media for that. He will say, I never said that I changed my mind. And that's what he's going to say. For you to state that I am not saying that I will not do it. I mean, come on, really and truly, two negatives you're going to throw? The fact of the matter is that the country is drowning in blood. And you as the Prime Minister cannot confirm that you are willing to meet with the opposition. That is either based on laziness or your hatred and bitterness for the opposition, inclusive of Gary Griffith, has reached such a height that you have no interest to meet with them because you hate them so much. What is there to prevent you from attending that meeting? The most important concern of the citizens of this country is their fundamental right being lost, which is that of safety and security, the right to live. And you are stating that I will delegate, and I am not telling you that I will not do it. I mean, that is a slap in the face, total disrespect to the citizens. Forget about the opposition. Forget about, he loves his press conferences and everything is Kamala, Gary. This is about trying to fix the country, trying to save citizens from being killed, raped, kidnapped. And instead of you stating that I am willing to meet with anybody, you have the audacity to say, I am not saying that I will not do it, because he does not want to state that I will not meet with them because I do not like them. That is so, it is inappropriate. And even to the point where he made the statement that the opposition meeting with persons in the anti-crime talks is a pappy show. How dare you? You're talking about politicians meeting with citizens on the ground, hearing their concerns, hearing their views, listening to their recommendation. Sometimes people just want to hear. So whereas the UNC, their concept of their anti-crime talks is to be on the ground, meet with persons, hear their needs, hear their concerns, hear their recommendations. We at the NTA, I'm going to be solution-oriented, getting some of the best minds available to show the transformation of national security in this country even better than it was when I was commissioner, better than when I was minister.
But I think that there is a perception out there that these attempts in some quarters, not all quarters, in some quarters, that there may be the perception that the opposition is insincere when it comes to its attempts to meet with the government. That's one. And this is all just a charade. It's all about politics.
Well, again, that is based on perception. Because I was the first person that opened this Pandora's box to say, listen, this nonsense of NTA, UNC, PNM, all of us just coming up with our own crime plans, attacking each other. What we need is to work as persons who want to serve the country. Let's work together and find the best solutions. The country cannot wait until next year or whenever when the government is changed. By then it may be too late. We have to work now. So if Kamala Persad-Bissessar said, look, I am giving you an olive branch, I want to meet with you, what more can she say? Same with myself. So I am really shocked that persons in the business sector, NGOs are stating that both the government and the opposition are not sincere. On what grounds? The opposition, Kamala Persad-Bissessar and myself, we have done all that we can do. We are willing to meet with you. The ball is in the court of Keith Rowley. You shirk responsibility, you delegate the Attorney General. What is it? How much golf could you play on Mocha that you can't attend the meeting? So it's not about sincerity, because what I will talk about is hypocrisy. Because going back to the anti-crime talks that the opposition is having that he sees as a pappy show, just a year and a half ago, he had something called Conversations with Keith Rowley. So that was not a papi show, meeting the people on the ground. But if the opposition does it, it is a papi show. That is the height of hypocrisy of the individual. It is time for us to take away all this politics and the hatred and the bitterness and try to find a way to find solutions to try to save this country. You
believe, because I'm sure some people may still be cynical about these talks, but you believe at this stage of the game that if the government and the opposition, they do come together, and I know that a condition was of the Prime Minister that he didn't want you at the talks. However, do you feel that the opposition will put its best foot forward, not play politics, and really engage in serious talks, and there could be a resolution to this crime problem that we are facing?
Definitely, because this is not about Gary Griffith alone. In 2010 to 2015, the facts will show that it was the highest reduction in serious crime in 31 years. So obviously, it means that Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who was chair of the National Security Council, myself as minister at the time, we obviously had solutions that played a part to peg back criminal elements. So all the talk we're hearing about the police manpower audit and all of that, you bring a manpower audit with 400 pages of fluff. Same thing like the Mostrovsky report and all of these reports that become a fire hazard in an office. We had these solutions. It worked. It's similar to when I was commissioner of police. It was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. So what we intended to do is say, look, we are becoming patriots before politicians. You do not know what to do. You have the most clueless Minister of National Security. We can show you what can work. Speaking about an agenda with legislative law, with legislative proposals, this is not a subcommittee of parliament. We are talking about solutions from new units, technology, policies to transform the police service that can be done overnight because it worked just 2 years ago. So that is what we are bringing to the table. For you to refuse to have this meeting shows that goes right back to Patrick Manning's comment. It is accurate. When he cannot have his way, he becomes totally out of control. So his hatred and bitterness for Kamala, Gary, it is overriding him doing what is good for the country.
Yeah. Let's speak about another statement that the Prime Minister would have said yesterday, and it would have been during your time. He said in 2020 the target was a 10% decrease in murders and a 26% decrease was achieved. And I dare say that dramatic increase was largely as a result of the lockdowns in COVID. It's not the first time that we have heard of this. And also because you continue to say, Mr. Griffith, under your time, we would have seen a drastic decrease in crime. But I think this allegation, this assertion, this suggestion of COVID would have really helped you during this time.
Yeah, we see allegations as the PNM's logo, from Emailgate, from curfew passes being sold, from firearms. That's what they do. I have been told, somebody tell me, I got a whisper. Did Keith Rowley do a poll and interview criminals to say, listen, because of COVID, I'm not going to rape, steal, kill? No. The fact of the matter is that if that was the case, one, if persons go back and do research, before COVID, it was the safest carnival in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. There was not one incident because we cracked it. That February and March, the murder rate went down drastically before that lockdown. So it took me 18 months to transform the police service to put us in such a position that a few moments later, anytime you jumped a wall, anytime there was an incident, in 3 minutes you were able to intercept. We did not need a police manpower audit with 400 pages. So that was one. Two, and again, that carnival, there was not one incident. Every masquerader would have remembered at every corner. I turned it into what you will see in New York City. Every corner had 2 police officers. I locked it down. And so you couldn't turn, you couldn't make a note. There wasn't even a pickpocket. So it had nothing to do with COVID. 2, in October and November, after I left as Commissioner of Police, there was still COVID, still the lockdown, and it was the second and third highest number of murders in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. So what is it? The criminals missed the memo and forgot what Rowley said, that during COVID you're not going to commit crime. 3, in Guyana and Jamaica, there was a drastic reduction in crime after COVID. In almost every city in the United States, New York, Boston, LA, Detroit, Chicago, there was a massive spike in crime because of COVID. Because during a situation of that lockdown, there's an increase in domestic violence. People become frustrated. Businesses were being closed. It meant loss of jobs. Loss of jobs meant unemployment. Unemployment becomes one of the biggest factors for persons to commit crime. So he probably is talking total nonsense. The fact of the matter is what we did was transform the police service to turn it into something that anywhere you turn, we had the technology, the systems, predictive policing, and the country felt safer. You see, we use crime statistics, Marlon, but the perception and fear of crime is just as critical as crime reduction itself. And persons felt safer. So that is where crime went down to the number 4 concern behind health, education, and the economy. Because people knew that I can call 999, I could do online reporting. My husband is beating me. There will be immediate action. There will be an immediate response. There will be a unit that peg back the criminals. That is what is required. So Keith Rowley, I don't know if he did a poll, but that what you said is total nonsense. You have just made it up because of your bitterness for Gary Griffith. The systems then can work now.
Yesterday, he also spoke about the police manpower audit committee. He also spoke about recommendations that were made. One of the main recommendations of the manpower audit report is the establishment of a police inspectorate. According to him, a strong and efficient oversight body for the high-performing police service. All right? This recommendation speaks about a police inspectorate, but none of what could happen without parliamentarians. Do you have a perspective on this police inspectorate? Would it help?
Yeah, it would, because the Police Service Commission is usually appointed by a politician who appoints a president, so she's really a politician, and then that president appoints civilians. The present Police Service Commission has a financial, an accountant, and a speaking consultant. The rest of the commission, no training, qualification, knowledge, experience whatsoever in national security or law enforcement, which is why they selected someone who placed 12th by experts and placed the first. So when you have persons like that doing oversight for the police service, they don't have a clue. They don't know what to do. And so when people speak about Erla being fired, that Judith Jones committee, that commission, they should be fired. So an inspectorate of qualified persons who understand law enforcement is good. My question is, but you have been in government for 9 years. You had that document several years ago and you did nothing about it. So don't come now and try, well, he's trying to bring up, regurgitate items that he failed to do as Prime Minister for several years. The point being, however, is that you don't need that. That is not the silver bullet to transform the police service. It was transformed. Public trust and confidence in the police service in 2018 was 14%. At the end of 2021, it moved to 59%, from the lowest support in all arms of the public sector to among the highest. A year later, it went down to 8%. So it shows that the transformation can be done without trying to go back into that Dursaran 350-page or whatever it is report. It can be done, but you need to have the political will to do it.
Yeah. Mr. Griffith, I can't remember, so I suspect you have the information that you can jog my mind and a lot of our viewers this morning. When you left office, what was the murder rate?
In my last full year as Commissioner of Police from August 2020 to August 2021, it was 342 murders. We cracked it. And when I say cracked it, we were doing, what I did is worked closely with the London Metropolitan Police, NYPD. So I took a lot of things what they had from social media monitoring unit, gender-based violence unit, covert operatives, sleeper cells, an elite unit similar to SWAT, and we had SORT. So with that, it pegged back the criminals. We were able to do something known as predictive policing. We were able to anticipate and know a crime that was going to be committed. So we spent a lot of time on this detection rate. But our detection rate is not much different to other cities in North America where there's gang violence. Because a drive-by shooting, you're not going to... So this detection rate we love to speak about. I realize people put a lot of emphasis on that. But somebody killed somebody 2 o'clock in the morning on a side street. You're not going to get witnesses, and the witnesses are not going to talk. So Chicago and those places, you're going to get a low detection rate. So what you put focus on is to prevent it from happening in the first place, and that is predictive policing. That unit I had sold, you know how many times they intercepted vehicles on the way to kill a prison officer, to put a hit on 4 and 5 persons. That is what caused the reduction in the homicide. When you shut down SWOT, you shut down the technology, the social media unit, the COVID operative unit, all the emergency response patrol, the rapid response unit, the operational command center, the commissioner's command center, the GPS tracking on the police vehicles, the body cameras, the dashboard cameras on the ERP vehicles. That is what caused it. I could go simple for the simple person. Think Arapita Avenue. For 3 years, there was not an incident under my watch. And that was before and after COVID. Because every 3 minutes, there was a police vehicle. We had 10 vehicles in every division, working 24 hours a day, GPS tracking them, seeing that they stay in their area of responsibility. So as soon as you make a call, within 3 minutes, you can get a response. That is what caused the deterrent. That is what caused the high visibility. That is what caused the rapid response. I'm glad
that you have taken me down this road, because I'm just thinking that over 300 murders, that's a lot of murders still. But I'm just making that statement with this statement that I'm going to make. What are the challenges then? Because to me, as a normal citizen, to me, one murder is just too much. Okay? And that's my position, my personal position. If we're speaking over 300 murders during your time, and then as we know the statistics are following after, over 500 and over 600 in another case. But what are the challenges that are preventing the police service, the police commissioner, and even the government from trying to crack this situation?
Yeah, sure. So going back to the days of Basil Pandey, and arguably the best Minister of National Security in the country's history, which was Brigadier Joseph Theodore, it was less than 100. That will never take place in this country again, because we had a government that turned criminals into community leaders, gang violence erupted, and then giving them state contracts, which again, you take $100 million to pump into locations where you know gangs are going to get it, it's going to feed them. The reports that I have is that lots of funds have been given to certain gang leaders, which is what caused a massive reduction in the murder rate. But when you play with filthy animals, you're going to get fleas. So because of the gangs now being emboldened and having that amount of capital, giving them $5 million to build a $50,000 box trade, they use the profit to buy more drugs, buy more weapons, hire more gang members, put hits on other gang members to get their state contracts. So that's what caused from less than 100 to 600. What can be done to change it is firstly to peg back the criminals, to let them know you can't just kill the innocent, law-abiding citizens in cold blood. So I was able to push it back. Now you say 342, but moving from 560 to 400 to 342, every year we kept doing the same thing. We would have gone back to less than 200. And I'm saying 200 as not acceptable, but because of a situation where thousands of illegal firearms are out in the streets, it's not like the Basil Pandey era. So getting it to less than 200, which is what was my intention, every year we'd have gone from 342, you do a 20% decrease. Next year it would have been 270, you do a 20% decrease, it would have gone to 230 and then 200. That's so it was on track. But when you shut down all of the mechanisms that peg back the criminals, that is what is going to cause the problem. Let me quickly add, to be able to lock it down, it has to do with securing the borders, because the illegal guns continue to enter. But we have a government that has spent all of their time putting the focus on legal firearms, when 99.9% of all murders committed by firearms in the last 10 years have been by illegal firearms. So what is required is a border protection unit to prevent the illegal guns. So when they talk the nonsense about OPV, and OPV is not going to stop 95% of the illegal weapons that enter our country, which is through the legitimate ports of entry. The US confirmed that with me. We don't have a proper border protection unit. They have refused. I presented it to them. You do that, you stop the illegal guns from entering, and then you put focus on seizing those that are here, then you're going to get that reduction.
Over the past few days, Mr. Griffith, the police commissioner has been under immense pressure, and I could call it fire, from members of the public. And this follows after she admitted that her 2023 violent crime reduction plan had failed. She says, we were unable to achieve any of the targets because the targets were a bit exaggerated. If we look at previous achievements over the years, these targets were never rarely met. So it was ambitious to sort of encourage the officers to really work towards reaching that target. Your perspective?
Well, the first thing I wish all, and that is why it is that the Police Service Commission needs 75 systems to assess me. They were all excellent and very good. So what she said was inaccurate. And it wasn't because of COVID, because as I mentioned, After I left, there was still COVID, and it was the second and third highest number of murders in October and November. So I don't know if the criminals missed that memo. So that is not true. There was a reduction. It worked. Her thing is that Erla's never been operational. She's never been tactical. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make her a bad person. What is the problem is that Erla did not put herself there. It's like if somebody's playing cricket for St. Mary's College and make 4 ducks, and the West Indies Cricket Board put you to play for West Indies, and you make 3 more ducks. You're not going to blame the player. He got the opportunity. He went for it. It is the West Indies Cricket Board that should be removed. In the same manner, it is Judith Jones and her committee who put her there. This was a person who placed 12th by qualified experts when we had a system before that you must have a qualified international team to do the exams for Commissioner of Police. So she got like 3 out of 15 in Roll Fit, 3 out of 15 in the mock media conference, 24 out of 50 in the interview. And she didn't come in the top 10. And all of a sudden, you take somebody who several persons defeated then and put her first. So you can see that the Prime Minister who appointed Paula Mavies, who appointed this team, people know what happened. So stop blaming Erla. That is my point. There's nobody to measure the performance of the Police Service Commission. They should all resign for their failure by imposing Erla onto the country. And the same thing could very well happen again. And let me quickly add, this thing that the Prime Minister is trying again to moonwalk and say that he is supporting Erla. He's playing this well because he knows he does. If he discredits Erla and she's going to be removed, which is already set, because I have more contacts in the PNM than I do in the NTA. So I know everything that the PNM is doing. That is why when you saw Keith Scotland, how they were speaking to her, they were interrogating her. They set up that JSC for her to fail. So this is a PNM plan to have her removed. They want her removed, but they are not going to say it because it will look like there's interference. So he's playing very smart with foolishness. Saying, well, no, I have nothing to say. She's the commissioner. I am supposed to support her. He's saying the politically correct thing. Back at the ranch, the Police Service Commissioner is already aware of what needs to be done. He's not going to have a contract renewed. A DCP, who they want, is now going to act as Commissioner of Police. So it is all set. So he's playing this thing well. So let's not be fooled with Keith Rowley's comment of, oh, well, I'm supporting her because she still holds the position. He's being politically correct. But it has already been set of Erla Christopher is to be removed by the PNM not wanting her. And they're going to throw her under the bus, blame her, and say, okay, we're starting from scratch. And hope that the country will forget that it was Erla Christopher that was imposed by a Police Service Commission that was selected by a president who was selected by a Prime Minister.
So, judging from all what you would have said, so is it your view that the Police Service Commission would have made the wrong decision?
Yeah, definitely, because I said, if the qualified... Listen, when I was interviewed, this was a guy from the United Kingdom that selected dozens of commissioners around the world. And Erla Christopher, I tell you, she didn't come in the top 10. She placed 12th. And if you add the points of persons who applied for deputy commissioners, she didn't come in the top 20. And it's not to blame Erla Christopher. She's administrative. She's not... Now is the time you need a police commissioner who's tactical, strategic, operational, who can think out of the box. She is the Chanda Paul of police commissioners. She will stay in her crease and bat and bat and bat for the day to go back to the pavilion at the end of the day. We don't need a test playing commissioner of police. We need somebody, not a T20 commissioner, but at least an ODI, not the West Indies ODI team in Australia, but one who is willing to step out of the box, make decisions, and have that ability to say, look, I need to do something different, or else we're not going to get different results.
Yeah. Gary Griffith, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You know, the last time I saw you for Carnival, you were dressed in a police uniform. I feel that you're going to be in costume this year, right?
No, I wouldn't, but I give the assurance to the country. The same systems that we used that made it the safest carnival just about 2 years ago, we can do it again. And the same way that we were able to transform the police service using principles of leadership, management, accountability, and measuring performance, we can transform. And you're going to hear it shortly, a massive transformation roadmap to change every arm in the public sector to make it as good as it could be, as accountable as it could be. Just as how I was able to transform the police service with a good team, we have a team that's going to transform Trinidad and Tobago shortly.
Gary Griffith, have a good carnival. Take care.
Same to you.